The world was caught off guard by the unexpected announcement of upcoming peace talks between the United States and Russia, aimed at finding a resolution to the grueling conflict in Ukraine. Scheduled to be held in Saudi Arabia, these talks represent the most significant diplomatic effort to end the war since it began in 2022. The stakes are incredibly high, not just for Ukraine, but also for the wider international order. The decision to hold these talks in Riyadh reflects the shifting geopolitical landscape. It underscores the growing prominence of Saudi Arabia as a mediator in international conflicts. Moreover, it speaks to the complexities of the current world order, where traditional alliances are being tested and new players are emerging. The announcement of the talks has been met with a mix of cautious optimism and deep skepticism. While any effort to end the bloodshed in Ukraine is welcome, many observers question the timing and the motivations of the key players. The road to peace in Ukraine is fraught with obstacles. The involvement of Saudi Arabia adds another layer of complexity to an already intricate situation. The coming weeks will reveal whether these talks can pave a path towards a just and lasting peace, or whether they will be remembered as another missed opportunity. The Biden administration, eager to shift its focus towards the Asia-Pacific region and domestic priorities, sees these talks as an opportunity to extricate the United States from the intractable conflict in Ukraine. There is a growing sense within the administration that the war has reached a stalemate, with neither side capable of achieving a decisive military victory. Moreover, the economic fallout from the war, particularly the soaring energy prices and supply chain disruptions, has generated considerable pressure on Western economies. The Biden administration is keen to find a solution that would alleviate these economic pressures and allow it to focus on its broader strategic objectives. However, the administration faces a delicate balancing act. It needs to demonstrate its unwavering support for Ukraine while also acknowledging the need for a negotiated settlement. Any perception that Washington is abandoning Kyiv could embolden Moscow and undermine American credibility on the world stage. The Biden administration's decision to engage in direct talks with Russia, despite strong opposition from some quarters, underscores its pragmatic approach to foreign policy. The administration seems willing to set aside ideological differences and engage with adversaries in pursuit of concrete outcomes. For Russian President Vladimir Putin, the talks represent an opportunity to solidify the territorial gains Russia has made since the start of the invasion. They also offer a chance to break the West's resolve, potentially driving a wedge between the United States and its European allies. Russia is facing mounting economic pressure from Western sanctions, and its military is feeling the strain of the prolonged conflict. A negotiated settlement that recognizes Russia's control over Crimea and parts of eastern Ukraine would be seen as a victory for Putin, allowing him to claim that he has achieved his objectives and defied the West. Moreover, the talks provide Putin with a platform to project an image of strength and assertiveness on the global stage. By engaging in direct negotiations with the United States, Russia seeks to reassert its status as a great power and challenge the existing world order. Despite its tough rhetoric, Russia is also feeling the pressure of the prolonged conflict. The talks offer a potential off-ramp from a costly and increasingly unpopular war. However, it remains to be seen whether Putin is genuinely interested in a negotiated settlement or whether he is simply using the talks as a tactical maneuver. European leaders have expressed deep concern over their exclusion from the initial stages of the peace talks. They fear that the United States, eager to disengage from the conflict, might strike a deal with Russia that prioritizes American interests at the expense of European security. The prospect of a separate peace deal between Washington and Moscow has revived long-standing anxieties in Europe about American reliability. These anxieties have been exacerbated by the Trump administration's unilateralist tendencies and its skepticism towards NATO. European leaders are particularly worried that the United States might pressure Ukraine into making territorial concessions to Russia in exchange for a ceasefire. Such a deal, they argue, would reward Russian aggression and set a dangerous precedent for future conflicts. The European Union has been a staunch supporter of Ukraine, providing billions of euros in financial aid and military equipment. European leaders are adamant that any peace deal must be acceptable to Kyiv and must guarantee Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Caught in the midst of this geopolitical chess game, Ukraine faces an unenviable dilemma. While exhausted from the war and desperate for peace, it is wary of any deal that would legitimize Russia's territorial gains or compromise its long-term security. The Ukrainian government has repeatedly stated that it will not cede any territory to Russia and that it is committed to liberating all occupied lands. However, the reality on the ground is complex. Ukrainian forces are facing a formidable Russian military, and the outcome of the war remains uncertain. The peace talks present both an opportunity and a risk for Ukraine. On the one hand, they offer a chance to end the bloodshed and begin the arduous task of rebuilding the country. On the other hand, they could result in a deal that falls short of Ukraine's core demands, leaving it vulnerable to future Russian aggression. President Volodymyr Zelensky finds himself in a precarious position. He needs to maintain the support of Western allies while also navigating the complex realities of the battlefield and the delicate balance of power at the negotiating table. The prospect of peace talks has elicited mixed reactions from the Ukrainian public. While many yearn for an end to the fighting and the return of loved ones from the front lines, others are deeply suspicious of any deal that would reward Russian aggression. Public opinion polls suggest that a majority of Ukrainians are opposed to making any territorial concessions to Russia, even if it means prolonging the war. This sentiment is particularly strong among those who have been directly affected by the conflict, having lost loved ones or been displaced from their homes. The war has had a profound impact on Ukrainian society. It has fueled a surge in patriotism and national unity, but it has also exacerbated existing social divisions and created new ones. The peace talks risk deepening these divisions, especially if they are perceived as a betrayal of those who have sacrificed so much for the country. The Ukrainian government faces the daunting task of reconciling these competing interests and finding a path to peace that can command broad public support. Failure to do so could lead to further instability and division within Ukrainian society. The upcoming peace talks represent a significant development in the long and bloody conflict in Ukraine. They offer a glimmer of hope for a negotiated settlement, but they also carry significant risks. The road to peace will be long and arduous, requiring difficult compromises from all sides. The success of the talks will depend on a number of factors, including the willingness of all parties to engage in good faith negotiations, the ability of the United States to act as an honest broker, and the steadfastness of the international community in supporting Ukraine's right to self-determination. Even if the talks do result in a ceasefire agreement, the underlying issues that led to the conflict will remain unresolved. Addressing these issues will require a sustained international effort to promote dialogue, rebuild trust, and foster reconciliation. The war in Ukraine is a stark reminder of the fragility of peace in the 21st century. It is a tragedy for Ukraine, a challenge for the international community, and a test of global leadership. Finding a just and lasting peace will require not only diplomacy and statecraft, but also a renewed commitment to the principles of international law and the peaceful resolution of disputes.